Community call. Hey, good morning. Whoa, welcome to the Axelar community call. My name is Galen. I'm content lead at Axelar, and we have a lot to bring you up to speed on from the month of May. If you want to get the monthly updates in your inbox, you can subscribe to our newsletter. You just go to the homepage and scroll down. You see the newsletter sign up at the bottom. But without any further ado, I want to get right into some of the technical updates that we've seen in the past 30 days. So I'll bring in co-founder and CEO, Sergey Gorbanov. Sergey, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Galen?
Friday morning. Celtics won last night.
Somewhere it's morning, somewhere evening, somewhere afternoon.
That's right. Somewhere it's morning.
Somewhere night. Awesome.
So what did we do in May?
What did we do in May? A lot. Let me see. So yeah, just a couple, technical upgrades. Well, for those of you that have been waiting, big major update on the network side on the general message passing went live on the network. So, the basic, we'll talk more a little about it, with Gaten, I think, in just a little bit, but on the very high level, we can, you can now send arbitrary commands across chains. You can send arbitrary payloads. So, NFTs, asset transfers, contract calls, and so on and so forth. Been working on this functionality for the last few months, and now it's finally has been shipped to the, testnet and the mainnet as well. Then, another few updates on the kind of inflation and the validator rewards. So if you look at the Medium post from the Axelar Foundation, for the validators, you see some updated parameters on the expected rewards and inflation rates on the network. So you can take a look at that. As I think previously we talked about it, the more chains interconnected, through Axelar, the more rewards a validator can earn. So, if you're a validator on the network, take a look, you'll see some of the initial parameters that are anticipated to go live on the main network. Then another, update for the validators. There has been a request and a feature that was put in the network to set a minimum commission rate for the validators. So I think some validators, have asked for this feature. We have gathered, some feedback. So that feature went live as well. I think currently the parameter is set to 5%. So a validator needs to include at least a 5%, commission rate when registering their validator. And the basic motivation for this is that running an Axelar validator node, is not a kind of trivial operation. It is a super important function, and our validators are doing just an amazing job at helping us run the network throughout. As a result, we just don't want to create any friction between bigger and smaller validators, where some of the bigger validators could afford to have a very low commission rate, and some of the smaller ones may not have that flexibility. So the feature to set a minimum required commission rate, is now live on the network. Then I think on the other big changes, well, as you guys have seen, the last month been pretty busy with Terra going, up and down through version 1. And, we have supported it really well, I think, throughout this whole, kind of a meltdown of the Luna itself. I think one big benefit that I'll actually bring out is that because Axelar is built as a architecture where many networks interconnected through it, and it has universal kind of routing and visibility of all the paths and connections on chain. And so what that means is that when Terra was going down, we were able to just issue a governance command to pause all the transfers from Terra, and then subsequently, because this one connection and the network itself was interconnected with all the other ecosystems, all the state was correctly kind of paused and halted on all the interconnected chains right away, right? And then when Terra went back up, sort of that connection was re-enabled. When it went back down, it was disabled, and it was kind of back and forth. So it was pretty busy for the team. But overall, I think this actually highlights some of the strong security features we built at the protocol layer, which is incredibly important in situations like this, where one governance command allow us to consistently and uniformly mitigate any potential downstream effects from the Terra chain going down. This is only possible in a sort of hub and spoke model. If you were in the pairwise connectivity model, you would have to have quadratic number of connections on the order of that, and you would have to kind of pause all of them individually, make sure they're all consistently updated between one another, make sure the state is consistently updated between all of them, which actually becomes like a governance and a kind of network management nightmare, right? So we were able to mitigate all that very, very effectively. So really proud of that. Then I think in parallel, the integrations with Osmosis went live very, very efficiently, right? So Axelar assets were listed on the Frontier front end on Osmosis, and as we won the canonical bridge provider support for them over the last month, been working on the integration, but everything sort of happened really, really quickly, right? Where as UST was, going through DPEG, Osmosis wanted to have more stable assets from Ethereum and other ecosystems. So as many other Cosmos chains in parallel that mainly relied on UST, and so that integration went live very quickly. Over a few days, we've onboarded lots of assets since then, everything from wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped ETH, DOT, Link token, USDC, like USDT, and so on and so forth. So you can go to satellite.money. You can take a list of the assets that are supported through the network. And a number of other front ends will be going live over the coming months. And so since that integration went live a few weeks ago, I think there is now more than 30 million of TVL that has been brought into the Osmosis ecosystem from mainly Ethereum to date. So that's on the integration. I think another big, some of the features that we're working on and technical upgrades include composability between interchain accounts and Axelar general message passing. I won't go into too details on that, but the team is actively working on it, which is really going to be incredibly powerful, right? So when you think about it, one of the core functionalities of Axelar Network is providing strong security, providing this universal, routing functionality, and providing universal translation of messages from one format to another, right? And so far, things like general message passing enable us to pass payloads across EVM chains. And the similar concept within the Cosmos ecosystem is called kind of interchain accounts. And so these things don't talk to one another to date, right? And so one of the big upgrades on the network will be to compose these interchain accounts with general message passing and have very, very strong compounding effects on top of it, where you'll be able to interact from EVM chains with the Cosmos chains and vice versa. So really looking forward to that feature going live over the coming months as well. And I think it's going to be super exciting. And then, in parallel, there's a lot of work to improve various services that are built on top of the network, right? So the network itself, ensures all these kind of transport layer functionalities. But in order to get us to the world where we can build seamless one-click user experiences across the ecosystems, there's all these layers of services that have to be built, including things like allowing user to pay, everything in one transaction, in one gas, like on a source chain, and not have to think about all the kind of gas costs on the intermediate chains, Axelar destination chain. So things like gas services, things like monitoring of cross-chain transactions, things like recovery in case the transaction was not relayed or relayer drops it somewhere along the way. Various kind of SDK services on top of it to make those experiences easier and easier, and allow sort of applications to build unified experiences, right? So a lot of the work this month has been going into those services, and we'll be exposing the SDKs and these APIs over the coming weeks. So yeah, those are kind of the major updates, and yeah, so look forward to more network upgrades in the coming weeks and months. Galen, you're on mute, but we can read your lips, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, of course. All Axelar community members are lip readers. That's something we require in order to get into the Discord.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exciting. Moving fast here. I feel like, you mentioned general message passing. We've been talking about that a lot. And I think one of the reasons we need to talk about it a lot is that it implies a kind of a change in thinking and how applications are built in Web3. But we're moving fast there as well. We first rolled it out to devs at the Avalanche Summit in a local developer environment there in the end of March. We had it live to mainnet by the end of the next month, about 30 days later, and have been talking about it and discussing it with developers and what that means since then. So I guess, Sergey, if you could talk about that a little bit and kind of elaborate. You had a blog post this month on the concept of bringing the program to the asset. What does that mean, and what does it mean for application development in Web3?
Yeah, no, great question, right? So the way that I like to think about it is as follows. Like traditionally, when the problem of interoperability in the blockchain space came about, the first thing that people thought about is like, how do we move assets, right, from one chain to another, right? And so we've seen this kind of a first generation of bridging technologies has been built like in a centralized form. Okay, let's just move the token from one chain to another, right? So that functionality is great, but it only can get you so far, right? And kind of where it can get you is probably kind of the limits of at least from a functionality level, what you can do with a Bitcoin network, right? So it has great security, but at the same time, in the Bitcoin network, you can't really do much besides just send it, the Bitcoin from one user to another. And so what happened afterwards, because developers wanted to do more and more and build custom applications, we saw the rise of Ethereum, right? Lots of interesting use cases were spun up out of it. That at the core of it enabled an arbitrary developer environment to code their logic into smart contracts, right? And so general message passing, you can think of it as a similar way, kind of the next step in the evolution of cross-chain interoperability, where developers can code arbitrary logic and arbitrary payloads in the messages that they pass from one chain to another, right? And so now the programming model and the programming paradigm is completely different. Instead of only talking about how do I move an asset, you can ask yourself, well, how do I take a program and maybe move it to where the assets are, right? Compute on the program in those environments, and then ship the result of that program somewhere else, right? So you can code anything from NFT logic into this cross-chain contract calls, synchronize Oracle requests, pass rewards, and so on and so forth. So this really becomes kind of a lot more flexible.
As a developer, where am I building this? Am I still sort of focused on a home chain ecosystem where I'm building, or am I building in some other kind of environment?
Yeah, no, great question. So I think our goal, from day one has been to allow developers to build anywhere they like on any blockchain and be able to compose and interact with other ecosystems, right? So in this environment, essentially the way to think about it is as follows. You can build your contracts on the best platform where the home base of your application should live, right? Maybe you pick like a home base, as an example, to be, let's say Avalanche, right? Because you like its speed or efficiency, but you still want to compose with other ecosystems. So you can ship most of the core logic of your contracts to the Avalanche, right? And then you can interact with the Axelar gateways and the Axelar general message passing, API to communicate with other ecosystems. Now, on other ecosystems, you may want to deploy some notion of, either mirror contracts or like satellite contracts that would receive these messages, sort of process them, right? Do any kind of error handling, and then pass the messages back and forth to the home base where your application is hosted, right? So we've actually, I think, seen two types of developer environments where most of the logic is sort of just replicated across different chains, right? And then you have synchronization messages that go through the Axelar gateway to synchronize the state within them. or a second instance of developers where there is a main kind of a home-based chain where you deploy most of the logic of the application, and then you have more lightweight satellite contracts on other chains that kind of and then receive messages to your home-based kind of contract itself.
And what do I have to write into those contracts on other chains as a developer?
Yeah, so you write basic information to kind of send and receive these messages, right? Actually, let me see if I can share my screen quickly, because I think this would be.
Should be a screen share button down bottom left.
Yeah, let's do that. So can you see this?
Yes.
All right. So for those of you that want to learn more about this, if you go to docs, .axelar.dev, if you first of all go under the developers page and go to the general message passing, you'll see this high level architecture that I talked about, right? Where on different chains you have these contracts that you can write that would communicate to the gateway, and gateway is going to be effectively your router where you can read and write these messages from. And the types of logic that you would write into these application specific contract would really depend on your use case, right? So you can, on the source chain, you can have functions that would allow you to call a contract on the destination chain, right? So for instance, if you want to, in a simple example, if you just want to pass a hello world message from a source chain to a destination chain, then on a source contract you would do a call contract invocation to the Axelar gateway, right? And then you would pass the destination chain address, you would pass a contract that you want to call on the destination chain, and you pass your hello world message in the payload, right? And then on the destination chain you then have a receiver contract that effectively executes the function when the message arrives there, right? And that can really be kind of specific to the application. So for instance, if it's hello world message and you want to send, I don't know, a notification to the user or to their contract, then there's an event you can emit on the destination chain and do a pop-up to the user. You receive the message from the source chain, right? As a simple toy example. And you can do more interesting things, right? So the gateway itself exposed functionality to call a contract with the token. So what that means is that all the assets that are integrated at the network layer, you can use as the routing assets to move them across different chains from a source and destination. And then you can have your executor function on the destination chain that does arbitrary things for those assets. So you receive something, you want to swap it, right? Or you receive something, you want to give a user a loan against it, right? And things like that. So you can encode all of that functionality in the destination.
Very cool. So I think there's one person in the chat here who is asking kind of what kind of projects can be made, can be developed. And I think you addressed that a little bit earlier, Sergey, but if you could maybe just kind of talk through that again, maybe with some more detail, kind of what kinds of applications can be built using general message passing.
Yeah, so the applications are limitless, right? Like, as I mentioned earlier, like this is a generalized kind of a, almost a Turing complete environment where you can code an arbitrary logic. But let me give you like a specific use case just to wrap your head around that I think is very useful to demonstrate. So suppose you have like an NFT on one chain, right? And you want to build an application that would allow a user to take a loan against this NFT. And that application you decide to host on a very cheap and efficient chain. Okay. So if I'm a user that holds an NFT on Ethereum and application, let's say, is hosted on Avalanche, I want to be able to take a loan against it. And so what you can do is you can write a contract on the source chain that would allow to lock an NFT, subsequently issue a message to Avalanche specifying that a specific NFT has been locked, specifying the user's address, specifying the amount of assets the user needs to get in the loan against this NFT, right? So it's a very simple example where NFT itself doesn't actually have to travel across chains, right? You can lock and unlock it on the source chain, but there is the message that needs to be then relayed with respect to like the value of the NFT, the user's destination address, and then that message will be executed on the destination chain. and the user can get the loan on the destination chain against this NFT, right? So this is a simple example. And you can think of anything from kind of cross-chain NFT applications, bridges. You can think about cross-chain wallets. You can think about, transferring, like I said, things like Oracle information, like from one chain to another, right? You can relay um, contract state, right? So, if you have two contracts and they could not really talk to one another in the same way as you can, call them on a same chain on Ethereum, if you would develop everything locally, now that is extended across chain. So you can do those kind of contract synchronization calls across, different environments. So yeah, I kind of highly encourage, go to docs.axelar.dev, take a look at some of the, examples from there. We link to, a series of examples to the GitHub pages. And yeah, imagination is the sky here. So I'm really looking forward to see what, folks will come up with.
Great. Cool. Okay. Well, awesome. Thanks, Sergey, for walking through that, especially on the, the real kind of getting down in the details on the, in the docs. I think, as you mentioned, we're in a constant state of improving the docs, making sure they're as clear and succinct as possible. So encourage everybody on the call to go and check them out. Whether you're a validator or a developer, you should find information there that you need to get started quickly. And as Sergey mentioned, a list of examples in our GitHub, which you can clone and really see what's possible on a very technical level. Awesome. Okay. Well, with that, I think let's move on from technical updates, and we can talk a little bit about the upcoming token launch. Sergey, thanks very much for joining. So our token launch, as many of you already know, is now scheduled for July 14. That date is subject to change as always. In this case, we had custody issues to resolve that have delayed the launch. We had originally planned on a launch in June that we had been talking about and pushed back to the July 14 date in order to make sure that we resolve those issues and everything goes smoothly. It's going to be a very exciting moment for the Axelar network. This is the point at which Axelar achieves a huge milestone on a path to decentralization, right? The technology is there in order to enable permissionless validation and security on the network. And once the token is live and released, we can continue on that journey in a much more dynamic way toward having a dynamic validator set. So a couple things about the token launch that everybody should know. One, the initial distribution will unlock 3 months worth of tokens for those who participated in the community sale, which took place on CoinList earlier this year. Thank you to everybody who participated in that event. Eligible community sale participants will receive the native token. That's pretty exciting. I think an expedient to situations like proof of stake networks such as ours is to use an ERC20 version of the token. Certainly we have that available, but we're excited to be able to offer the Axelar token, AXL, the native token, to participants in the community sale, which will enable them to immediately begin staking and using their token on chain. So by default, those users should know those funds will show up in their CoinList account. And CoinList is planning to support staking via its platform subsequently, or of course the Kepler and Cosmos Station wallets will provide staking support for the token. We will have tutorials explaining how to connect to Axelar network via those accounts, via those wallets. And if you go onto Kepler or Cosmos Station now, you can already see Axelar network there among the options of networks that you can connect to. So right from day one, if Kepler is your choice, you'll be able to withdraw and delegate there. And I think, support for other wallets, including CoinList, hopefully in the future. So, of course, questions about the token and how it works. A great place to ask those is our Discord. We have an active community there with moderators and core team members to respond to questions. And of course, a lot of information there for developers, validators, and node operators as well. So with that, let's get to some new team introductions.
All right. Hey, Yara, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hopefully everyone can hear me, hopefully.
Yep, we got you. Good. All right. Perfect. Well, Eli here, marketing lead at Axelar. Want to welcome a new team member, Yara Elder, our new marketing events manager. So it's been great. You've been here, I don't know, it feels like a long time, but I know it's only been a few weeks. But would love it if you could just kind of introduce yourself to the community, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into Web3.
Yeah, of course. So I've been doing brand, community, and events probably for the past 8-ish years. Been in a lot of SaaS, but also have worked in crypto. So that's kind of how I found myself here. And kind of why Axelar, was really appealing to me. I just think interop is the future. And I think working on the future is really cool. And I know that's kind of a silly answer, but for me, I do think that's honestly really cool. And I think that's kind of how I got started, a little bit of my background. I'm based in Atlanta. I don't know if any of our community is in Atlanta, but always good to know. Just never hesitate to hit me up. I always love meeting local people. So I think that's pretty much me. But I know we're looking at kind of the events for the future, and I just wanted to talk about kind of like what I'm excited about. I know we got a lot of cool events happening. Oh, hello, community. I see the chat. Very great. We have a lot of great events happening this year, so I'm super excited, not just for the events, but to meet the amazing community. So that's my little intro. It's great to meet everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. And you jumped right into it. Yara joined several weeks back, and I think on her second or third day, hopped on a plane and immediately jumped into it with managing kind of our presence at the MIT Bitcoin Expo. So that's been pretty awesome having you on board. What are you kind of looking forward to this year in terms of blockchain events?
Yeah.
What kind of is top of mind for you?
I think the biggest thing is really, expanding our community, and especially on a personal level for me, is to really meet y'all. I think events are wonderful, hackathons are wonderful, but you are the people who help make these events successful and use our tech. So, picking your brains, getting to know y'all is something I'm really looking forward to. I know in a second I'll have a little section covering events, but if anyone plans to attend any, don't hesitate. Reach out to me. Let's meet up. I'd love to meet the community.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've got a pretty diverse set of events coming up in terms of both location and format. So maybe this would be good to just hop right into, what you've got planned for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I can take us through that. Okay,
Perfect.
so at least for the rest of the summer, we got some great events coming up. I think the soonest we have is this weekend. We have Block Hack, which is going to be a virtual hackathon. So keeping your eye out for us there. And then next week, I'm sure a lot of you know, is going to be Consensus and about a million other things happening during the week. So if anyone is in town, please make sure that check out Sergey's talk at Decentral. We're also going to be at Consensus. We'll have a traditional booth, so swing by for some good swag. We got some good stuff. And then Sergey will also be doing a panel moderation there, so be sure to check that out. On top of that, I'm sure as many of you know, there used to be a Terra event that was also planned during the week that is now OzCon. So if anyone is planning to go to OzCon at the AT&T Conference Center, we will also be having a presence there. Our team will be pretty spread out during the week, but I'm sure you'll be able to catch some of us if anyone's in town. Outside of that, if we're looking towards August, we got Futurists in East Toronto. And then somewhere in between the summer, we are looking at potentially hosting some networking/workshop events. We're still getting that in order, but keep your eyes and ears open for any news for that. So y'all can register, join us, and the rest of the team learning more about Axelar and using our tech.
Awesome. Thanks, Yara. Yeah, well, we hope to see a lot of you in Austin, Texas next week. It's going to be a pretty wild week. I think a lot of stuff is happening all at once. So yeah, looking forward to it. Yara, anything else from you, or should we keep on moving?
I think that was it from me. It was great meeting everyone. I see all the hi Yaras in the chat. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. But I will hopefully meet some of you next week in Austin, and I'll see you on the next community call.
Awesome. Thanks, Yara. Okay, next up, I'm going to cover some of our recent partnership announcements. So we've got 4 or 5 to go through here pretty quick. Earlier this week, we had an exciting tweet with BNB Chain, right? So we're announcing a future integration with that network. Can't say much more than that at the moment, but we did get a nice retweet from CZ himself, so that says something. But the high level that we can share is essentially that developers building on BNB Chain and that kind of thriving ecosystem already will soon be able to take those applications cross-chain via Axelar. So more to come on that, but that's an exciting one that we're looking forward to sharing more information on in the near future. Next up is Kive. So a couple weeks ago, our Director of Business Development, James Friel, did a Building Cross-Chain Twitter Spaces with the CEO of Kive. And what Kive is, you know, they're building a decentralized on-chain data lake using a network called Arweave. And so this allows developers to store any data stream on-chain. And so Kive already has a pretty prominent user base or community, you know, Avalanche, Solana, Mina, Near, Cosmos, among a whole bunch of other prominent networks already use them. So what does that mean for developers that are using both Kive and Axelar? Well, essentially, you will be able to leverage Kive's data storage solution easily, accessing trustless, verified, and permanently stored data, but you'll be able to do that in a cross-chain manner, right? So you'll be able to integrate this data across, you know, a multitude of different networks by using Axelar's APIs. So that's another one that we're excited about what's coming there. If you want to check that out, you can go to our Twitter Spaces links, and that should still be available. And then we'll post that up on our YouTube channel as well, so you can watch that or listen to that, you know, whenever you like. Next up is another Twitter Spaces that Sergey actually held with Secret Labs co-founder and CEO Guy Ziskind. So if you're not too familiar with Secret Labs, they're the team behind Secret Network. And Secret Network is a blockchain that is focused on preserving privacy for its users, right? So in this Twitter space, Guy went kind of and gave a deep dive into, you know, how does that actually work under the hood? How are they preserving this privacy? And then he and Sergey discussed, you know, kind of a little bit more, you know, future talk in terms of what could a Secret Network and Axelar integration actually look like and enable in the future, right? So how can Axelar enable Secret to kind of distribute its privacy capabilities to applications, networks, users, cross-chain? I think they kind of referred to it as a privacy co-processor, which was kind of a neat concept to think about. So, you know, nothing in terms of a definitive integration announcement for this Twitter Spaces, but kind of a little bit more of imagine what we're going to be able to enable down the road with an integration. And then finally, we've got an announcement from one of our staking partners or validators, Citadel One. So when the AXL token becomes available, you'll be able to use Citadel's app to hold and stake AXL. The platform offers wallet functionality, staking capabilities, obviously, Kepler wallet support, and they've got some special reward promotions that are coming quite soon. And then finally, we've got, you know, an exciting announcement. You know, following the Osmosis canonical bridge proposal, that getting approved, JunoSwap actually went and made a similar proposal to have Axelar become the canonical bridge for their DEX, which is, you know, JunoSwap. So that actually has passed. And we're pretty excited about that. That's going to be a big kind of unifying moment for the Cosmos ecosystem and enable a lot of liquidity between two of those major DEXs. So I think there's some really good stuff that's going to come out of that, and more to come, more official announcements to come on that front. So that's it from the partnership updates point of view. I know, Kate, we've got you here. I know you're on your phone, so let's see if this works. I'm going to add you into the stream here. Just one moment. All right, let's give that a try.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we've got you.
Success. All right, awesome. So I'm going to give a quick community update. So first off, awesome to see all of our community members and moderators in the chat. A lot of familiar faces there. So hey, thanks for joining. So yeah, some quick community updates. We are looking to expand the regional moderator team to help us with all of our international communities. Specifically, we're looking for a Japanese moderator, Indonesian, and more. So if you're excited about kind of joining one of the regional communities that I mentioned, or if you see a community that you don't, if there's a community that you don't see represented, that you'd love to start up and lead, reach out on Discord, on Telegram, and we're happy to set that up. We mostly hire from within the community. So people that are already really engaged with Axelar, that are already following our updates, already across our socials, and want to become more, active in running their own channels. So yeah, reach out in the chats and we'll get you set up there. And speaking about that, we have a growing list of international communities that are all run by our amazing team of moderators. We have 15 represented so far, so that's really exciting. And these communities are represented across Discord, Telegram. We also have Reddits, Mediums, Facebooks, WeChats. People run podcasts, YouTube channels, Instagrams, and more. So definitely check out the community page on our website to see the full list of all of our regional channels. Like I said, all community run by our awesome team of moderators. And also, a lot of people don't know this, but all of our regional communities hold monthly events, which is really cool. And we'll actually be publishing the events calendar on our community page so that you can browse through the events, find one, that you'd like to join and join the community, get rewarded for participating in the event and, see what's on for the month. And lastly, we launched this internally, but we're excited to have launched the Amplification Task Force, which is a dedicated group of really engaged content creators who are active in the Axelar community. And this is going to help us share our updates, programs, and more within their communities across their platforms. And, really help us get the word out to fellow devs and people that are excited about what we're building, and also to be able to plug in what we're building to what they're building. So that is the very quick community update. Yeah. I'm not able to take myself out of the stream. There we go.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we can, Galen, I'll add you in here as well. I think we can kind of close things out here. Looks like we don't really have any more questions at the moment from the community. So any final thoughts, Galen?
No, I mean, look, just we're continuing to make progress on the technical front. We're all excited about the token launch in July. We're hiring axelar.com/careers, engineers, marketing, business development, across the board, hiring going on here. So if you're interested in the project and want to contribute more, please take a look at those roles. Maybe you're a fit for one of them. Maybe you know somebody who'd be a great fit. And of course, there are opportunities, like Kate mentioned, to contribute in the community. If you're just new to the community, don't think that all of those opportunities are closed. Right? It's a decentralized network. So we're looking for ways in which to get community involved and have more people who have a stake in the network doing things that benefit the network. So definitely check out the Discord, see what the opportunities are available there. And just a little alpha, maybe we're going to, well, this isn't really alpha, but we are going to clean up the Discord. There's going to be a little bit of a revamp there. So if you're coming to it for the first time in the next few days, I hope you like the experience. And if you're coming to it again and it looks fresh and new, certainly welcome your feedback on some of the changes that we're about to start making in terms of making information available there for developers, validators, and community members. In general, speaking of Discord and Telegram, want to warn all community members against any scams that are out there. There are currently no sales ongoing If somebody's in your DMs offering you Axelar tokens via some kind of a OTC exchange, that is not real. Any sites promoting a token sale, that is not real. Those should be ignored, or you can, of course, be a good doobie and go into the scam reports channel on our Discord and report those there. We do have ways we can take action against those activities, and we do. We keep a close eye on that, and through third-party services and through our own action, reporting those and flagging them for platform operators. We're working to get those taken down and mitigated as quickly as possible. So that's it.
Nice.
Anything else, Eli?
Covered it.
Awesome. Well,
All
thanks
right.
everybody for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one. Take care.